All right, welcome to everyone who's joining us in the world today. We're doing another ServicePower chat session today. If you've been following the news on ServicePower and PlusOne, we were very excited to announce an acquisition of two companies coming together, two companies with long history that have very deep expertise in specific areas that are very complementary to each other. I'm Brad Hawkins. I'm the Chief Product Officer at ServicePower, and I'd love to introduce Craig Reilly, the founder of PlusOne. Craig, if you want to give a quick intro of yourself.
Hey, thanks, Brad. My name is Craig Reilly. I am the founder of PlusOne Solutions, which we started in 2005. My background has been in the home services and the appliance repair industry just about my entire life. And a big part of it for the past 30 years has actually been touching the compliance side of the business, whether it's insurance, background screens, licensing, you name it. If it's part of somebody walking into a consumer's home, that's where we founded PlusOne Solutions by.
Awesome. I can share for the world that I know PlusOne had been around for a long, long time. I knew the name Craig Reilly. I think it's safe to say, Craig, that we didn't cross paths early on, and I knew
No.
of you, and it's super exciting now that I get to work with you, get to pick your brain. I feel like I'm learning a ton about compliance, but let's start there. Let's talk about define compliance. What does it really mean? Why is it important?
For different levels, it impacts different people. So using a manufacturer, a whole home warranty company, or anybody that uses independent contractors, it's in every contract. You require that every contractor or every vendor you use has not only insurance, proper insurance, but also has the proper licenses to do the work that they need to do. So that's the number one thing. So when compliance started years ago, that's about where it started with. And then came along background screening. And that came out of the court system because of an incident years and years ago where somebody sent an individual into a customer's home, a contractor, didn't do a background check on him. Back then, it wasn't really required or nobody had really thought about it. And something happened. And unfortunately, the attorney generals and everybody else got involved, and they really put a mandate out that people like any manufacturer, anybody that's sending people into customers' homes has an obligation to protect the consumer. And that's where the consumer side comes into it. Because consumers just assume if they're dealing with a national entity or a company that if they're using independent contractors or if they're using their own employees, that those employees have been background screened. So when you add all that stuff together, that becomes the compliance side. And now in many of the contracts out there, background screening is also a requirement before you're sending anybody in the customer's home.
So fair to say, I'm gonna approach this from the field service side because that's what ServicePower feels we're great at. Our job at ServicePower is to bring transparency to every stakeholder in a field service event. So I have a client who's an OEM, a home warranty company, a service contract administrator. They have end consumers who have a need for service in a particular moment. Is safe to say this is another level of transparency. I am sending an independent contractor into your home that I know they've been trained by the OEM, they're authorized by the OEM, but I also know the person going into that home has been background checked, has been screened, tested, they've got licensed, right, insured. That's to give that level of, do you agree that enhances the customer experience on its own to have that level of comfort to know who's coming to my house and they've been checked?
That's correct. So the manufacturers, or all the national companies that offer these services, they're protected and they have the comfort knowing that they are sending people into customers' homes that have been background screened, potentially been drug tested, that have the proper insurances and licenses to do the work. The contractors themselves also benefit because they too are being transparent with the customers, whether it's customers are working through the manufacturer or it's one of their paid customers, that they're now sending people into customers' homes that are safe and secure and protects the consumer, which is what everybody's looking for. And so that benefit really extends well beyond just the manufacturer, but also to the contractor and to the consumers.
Awesome. I know something ServicePower has been built on is the idea of aggregation of a contractor world.
Mhm.
Contractors work for multiple relationships. So I'm going to ask a loaded question, which is why couldn't all these clients just go about it on their own? Like, there seems to be obvious benefit to me, but I'd love for you to talk about that. Why couldn't each of these clients just go about this on their own?
Good point. And back in the early days when everything started, before PlusOne was formed, that's exactly what happened. Is a lot of the manufacturers, the retailers, other corporations that were mandated to do this, they all started on their own. And what they did is they mandated to the independent contractor that they be background screened, they be drug tested in some cases, that they provide their insurance and licensing. And what that did is it created an extra cost that was significant to the industry, not just for the retailers and the manufacturers, but also to the independent contracting world. If you think about it, if an independent contractor has 5 techs, so 5 people going into the customer's home, and let's just round numbers and just say that it's $50 a background screen. Could be $100, could be just about anything, but they all varied back then. So at $50, if you have 5 techs, that's $250 to get 5 background screens by an individual company to provide services for all their techs. If they then go to another company that's very similar, whether it's a manufacturer, another retailer, or a warranty company, they're going to have to do it again and again. Most of the independent contractors in the home services world, especially when you're dealing with HVAC, you're dealing with appliances, you're dealing with other consumer products, you are talking about 5 to 6 major contracts that they have at any one time. So you take out $250 and multiply it by 6, and you can see how it gets fairly expensive, especially when you have to come back and redo it continuously. So what's happened is since that period, it really got started, and PlusOne was one of the leaders in that industry, and I think still is the leader of the industry, that the background screen is more robust than everybody doing it on their own. And the independent contractor actually owns that. So they look at it as another certification, almost like having a separate license for each one of their individual techs. So they background screen that tech, they drug test that tech, they own that background screen, and then the manufacturers depend on the quality of that background screen and the adjudication to verify that that person is a safe individual going to the customer's home that works for the contractor who ultimately works for the retailer or the corporation. So everybody benefits because in this industry, independents are independent for a reason. They don't work for a single company. They work for multiple companies at the same time. Some of them up to a dozen and a half at any given point in time. So having a program that the contractor owns that has been verified, independently verified, and then provided to the retailer, to the manufacturer, everybody wins with that. And it's a good, strong, quality background screen that touches all the different court records or the major databases that are out there to verify that the person going to the customer's home is actually a safe individual.
Yeah, that goes right along with, again, sort of a view of ServicePower historically has been that there is a different way that you engage with contractors. I still hear to this day competitors saying with contractors, treat them like they're your own. And we know that's not reality. It doesn't work in a world where a contractor works for 10, 15, upwards of that relationships. It just doesn't work. I also kind of want to briefly touch on, I feel like I've learned quite a bit about compliance since we've done this acquisition. And I've seen the level of work that is put into the PlusOne platform as it relates to understanding compliance, even down to a state level. And some of the newer things you've talked about, like continuous criminal monitoring. Again, it goes back to that level of comfort that in any given moment, our goal at ServicePower is, what's the mission? To enable delightful, transparent field service experiences. That tells me that, yeah, can I run a background check on someone? Can I do a screening on them? Sure, but it's continually changing. And like, let's just talk about something like continuous criminal monitoring. That seems pretty attractive to me in knowing that something could change and you need to know. Is that correct?
That's correct. So it actually goes deeper than that. So we're an accredited background screening agency, a consumer reporting agency that specializes in background screening. And we just didn't wake up one day and say, this is what we're going to do. It requires a lot of knowledge about the industry, a lot of knowledge about the court systems, the variations from state to state, city to city, county to county, across the nation. So you look at one state and the exact same crime can occur in the neighboring state, but they call it something different. They classify it differently, whether it's a various level of a misdemeanor or a felony or any other event. Everything varies. And understanding that is critical. So one of the newest features that we rolled out several years ago is when the industry finally came up with what we call continuous crim monitoring. So it looks at arrest records that occur every night. If you go to a university, you'll hear about this. A lot of the major universities actually do this for all their students in that town. And what they do is they start looking with the local police department if any arrests occurred that previous night, then it gets reported in. That got expanded across the country. And now it's over 95% of the jurisdictions that are out there report that any arrest record that happens the night before. So we pick it up every day when we're doing the continuous crim monitoring. And if something happens, we follow the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is absolutely critical in this industry. So it's referred to as the FCRA. It's a federally regulated act that tells not only the background screening industry, but credit agencies, everybody else, exactly what they can report, what they can't report, and the process they have to go through to notify somebody if they're not eligible, or if there's a pre-adverse condition in their background that may have occurred. So part of the steps that we do is when an arrest record comes in, it does not immediately disqualify an individual or make them ineligible. Arrests occur all the time for different things, and you have to look at the infraction, the level. Does it even apply? Is it going to raise to the level that it's going to cause a potential safety issue with a consumer if it's repeated again? It has not gone to the courts yet. The courts have not made a decision, so the court hearing has not occurred. So we get that report, and if the individual is under that program that they're being monitored, what they're doing is an extra level of safety. Because today, most of the background screens in the industry are either every 6 months, renewed every year, or every 2 years. Every 2 years is about the longest period of time. What that means is during that 2-year period, there can be infractions that have occurred that you would not find out, whether the retailer or the company would not find out about for up to 2 years later. With the continuous criminal monitoring, what it does, it looks for those records and then following the Fair Credit Reporting Act, follows the process to see if that may impact, and then gives us the ability and gives the service company and the individual, which is the most important person in this, to come back and say, here's what happened. No, it doesn't create any type of safety issue. So at that point, they're asking for consideration. Many times those arrest records they go away. They're not even considered because they aren't even raised to the level that is needed. But we've identified a number of individuals over the years that have come through as an arrest record that turned out to be major felons. And they were spending time in jail as well because of that. So it has been a huge win for the industry. It's been a huge win for the service companies that are part of that, as well as the fellow service techs and the fellow companies out in this industry.
Awesome. I kind of want to say, I think that answer alone kind of shows why PlusOne has always been looked at as the gold standard as it relates to compliance and on the forefront and the best understanding of what it means, how to execute, and how to bring value. Let's talk about the future now, because again, it's clear there is a deep level of understanding of compliance. Now let's talk about what it means in bringing two companies together, because hopefully the world that is watching this has already seen some of the releases of talking about the on-demand home services network, which has many components to it, but one of them being our ability, now that we have a relationship between ServicePower, the ServicePower Premier Network, PlusOne, who's worked with all these service providers to put them through the compliance process. We have over 80,000 businesses that we have a relationship with. And one of the long-time field service issues has been labor shortages, right?
Mhm.
How do I find coverage? I just want to get your thoughts on that, and what value do you see in a client who may be trying to execute on service, and whether they can't find someone today. They typically have locating teams. They may use ServicePower as a managed service, which is a bit of you could look at that as a manual process, but we're acting as an additional workforce for them. Wouldn't it be great in the moment to be able to go, look at these businesses that we know from all our data? They have a relationship with us. They've signed on with us. They work in an industry. They cover a geography. We know they're compliant. We've already done that for you. How powerful can that be to augment networks in the future and create a marketplace?
So that's a great question, because that's why I was excited when the acquisition opportunity came together. I mean, it started a long time ago with just myself and the CEO of ServicePower just sitting down, having a discussion. We've known about each other for years. We've never really had direct conversations because we thought we were so different. But the more we sat and just talked about the industry, we kind of found out that PlusOne, we knew we've always been the largest in the home services industry, especially the appliance repair and people going to consumers' homes for background screening and verifying insurance and licensing. ServicePower is the number one software in the same industry, and a lot of our customers cross over with each other. We have similar customers that we both service. We have individual customers in the same industry that are not part of ServicePower, and ServicePower, those customers are not part of PlusOne. With this combination, we bring all that stuff together. And you talk about transparency. PlusOne, we know a lot about the safety of an individual company and whether they have the right insurance and they're following all the process. They don't have gaps in insurance. They've been carrying their license for a while. They are stewards of their workforce, the employee workforce, of all the individual techs going into customers' homes. They care about their customers. They care about their clients, like the retailers and everybody else. When you look at ServicePower, which has the largest database of dispatches, and you start to look at the quality of the service, and you look at the first-time fix rates, how fast they're getting out and take care of the customer, parts usage, other types of things, they're pretty agnostic across all manufacturers. It's not necessarily specific to one. When you start looking at all that and combining it together, and you look at the data and how rich we are with data now, and then you start to look at artificial intelligence to say, what does that mean when we're looking at people that are compliant, have been in business for a long time, are known throughout the industry, participate in associations, industry associations that are truly professionals in their industry, that have marked trucks, uniform techs, have high customer service ratings based on the consumers. When you start putting all that together, that becomes even that much more valuable to all of our customers, to our joint customers, and to new companies looking at trying to come up with a better way to service their customers. That data alone and the ability to read it and then report it out raises the overall industry standard. Service companies that really know what they're doing and really want to continue to excel and get their high ratings, they're the ones that are jumping on this because they see the value in it. The issue that we've always had in the industry is everybody uses a independent contractor, but they keep it in a silo. They truly keep it in a silo that they only see the data that's appropriate to them and for the calls they ran. So they may be looking at 50 calls for a year, which is not a very big sample size. when you start to look at the data across everybody and you're looking at a service company, now you're starting to see hundreds, if not thousands, of service events all occurring within a year's time or within a period of time. And now you can have something you can start to compare against. You can see how they're doing. Do they have claims? Are the customers enthusiastic about them? Did they do the repair the right way the first time? All that stuff comes into play, and that's what makes this combination so exciting. And then you bring in the artificial intelligence side, and it's a new world, and it's an exciting world. It's exciting to be part of this.
What's interesting, the one thought before I'm going to kind of wrap this up is a lot of that value we just talked about is obviously to our enterprise clients. We're typically working with the enterprise clients. I think you've at PlusOne worked closer with the service providers, putting them through the compliance process. I think something that is very different from the ServicePower side, where we're looking to bring a lot more value to the servicer community, is with this information we have about them. Like you said, not just how are you judged by each of your clients, how are you performing industry wide? Are you a compliant business and you've done everything asked? Based on us knowing that, I can help you as a service, as an independent contractor. I can now help you as ServicePower to grow your business. So
Exactly.
we're going to bring value on both sides of that equation now. So very exciting times. Is there any last thoughts you want to throw in about compliance or the acquisition in general?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing is this industry. We talk to service companies all the time, day in and day out at PlusOne Solutions, because we're always working with them. We see them at conferences. We support the conferences. It's a very tight-knit community. Even though there's tens of thousands of independent companies doing appliance service alone, and then you look at HVAC and plumbing, electrical, and you're dealing with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of companies on top of that. Talking to all of them, you really get an understanding of how a vast majority of them really put the customer at the top. And when you start to give them a tool that can better their business and allow them to start advertising or connecting with other companies and showing the quality of their service, which was very difficult before when they all operated independently and systems were not connected, that is a huge win for the industry. The service companies that jump onto this or have jumped onto this already, and even the ones that have started with us, we've been background screening every other year, same companies and the same techs for 20 plus years. They are very dedicated to making sure that they're taking care of that customer and keeping that level of expertise and level of safety there. When you look at those companies, they're the ones that are going to rise to the top. They're the ones that would jump on board and say, I want to be a part of this. I want to open up. I want to be recognized in the industry for what I do. And this is just another tool for them to step forward and say, here's who I am. So when these programs roll out, or when the industry rolls out something new, and with the new tools that are coming out, all boats rise. And the companies that do it the best are going to be sitting on top of those waves.
Yep. Good stuff. This was a great talk, great chat today. Thanks, Craig. Thanks to everybody who has decided to join and listen. We appreciate it. And stay tuned. There's so much exciting news coming out. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate the interview.